Welcome to the Long Run with Joel Christie. I'm Joel, flying solo today, and this is the last installment in my series on the long run to the Boston Marathon. As you know, I ran the Celebration Marathon back on January the 30th, and today I'm going to kind of give you an update on that. We're going to go through some video. Don't worry about the goals I say in the video you're about to see, because I got those wrong. That's because I didn't write them down. And after 26.2 miles, you don't really remember what you said like a month ago. So we're going to talk about the goals after you see the video of me after the race. Then we'll come back and talk about the goals, whether or not I hit those goals, and what's up for the future. So let's go ahead and get to the video, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
What's so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming.
Hey guys, this is coming to you after the marathon, and this is the bling. Yep. And just kind of give you an update. Feeling pretty good. Like I said, my goals were 3 hours and 27 minutes. That was my ultimate goal. My next goal was to be under 3:30, and then my third goal was to be able to submit a qualifying time for Boston, which would be under 3 hours and 35 minutes. And so my official time was 3 hours, 31 minutes and 1 second. So I didn't make my first goal or my second goal, but I did make my third goal. So, and I won't be able to submit a time until September. I don't know that I've selected. It just depends on how many fast runners are in front of me. But I will be able to submit a time. That was my goal. After that, it's up to them whether or not I get to go to Boston or not. But so I'm pretty excited about that, to be able to submit that time. And so that's it from Celebration, Florida, from the Celebration Marathon. It was a really good day. It was cold this morning, but in a way that was good because it wasn't humid at all, and felt pretty strong the entire way. All right, so there's the after race recap. And as you see, I did finish at 3 hours, 31 minutes and 1 second, which was about 3 minutes and 59 seconds under what I need to do to submit a qualifying time for Boston. So let's go ahead and talk about the goals first, and then we'll kind of analyze the race after that, or maybe as we go along. I don't know how I'm going to do this because I don't really have a plan. So my first goal was to be able to submit a Boston qualifying time. Now I did make that goal, so I will be able to. I was under 3 hours and 35 minutes, so I will be able to submit a time. Now that doesn't guarantee me a spot because like I said in a previous video, when you submit your time for Boston, they take the faster runners first. So the faster you are under your qualifying time, then you're more likely to get in. Now I'm probably about midways of where I needed to be. I'm about 4 minutes, right at 4 minutes faster than the qualifying time, but depending on how many faster runners are in front of me will depend on whether or not I get a spot. Now I won't submit my time until September, so I won't know goal 1B, which is to actually secure a spot. I won't know that until probably the fall. So I'll do a little quick update video when that comes out and kind of give you an update of where I am. But I will be able to submit a qualifying time for the first time in my running career. So I'm excited about that. I don't know that I'll get in. I hope that I do. But it just depends on how many faster people are in front of me in my age group. So there you go. Goal number one, I will be able to submit a qualifying time, but I don't know yet whether or not I've secured a spot. Goal number two was to do a PR, and if you remember what I said, my PR was from Houston in 2018 was 3 hours and 33 minutes and 24 seconds, and so I hit that by 2 minutes and 23 seconds. 2 minutes 23 seconds faster than my previous best in a marathon. So I was pretty excited about that. And then my third goal was to be under 3:40, 3 hours and 40 minutes, which I obviously accomplished that one as well. And then the fourth goal, the ghost goal, was to finish, and did that. So mission accomplished there. I've never not finished a race, and I feel pretty blessed to say that, especially the wear and tear your body goes through to train for and then to run 26.2 miles. Kudos to anybody that can get out there and do that and finish strong in those races. So I did hit, so far I've hit 3 out of my 4 goals, 4 out of my 5 goals, I guess you might say, because goal number 1 was split into 2, 1A and 1B. And I won't know about the other goal until later on. So I didn't hit the 3:27 that I was shooting for. We'll kind of talk about that as we go along, but kind of analyze the race. I just want to kind of sit down and really kind of analyze it. Now that I'm at least a week past, I can kind of analyze it with a clearer head and just kind of see where I was, maybe what happened, and where we go from here. So my goal, as you remember, for the race itself, my strategy for the race itself was to run the first 10 miles a little bit faster than marathon pace, the second 10 miles a little bit slower than marathon pace, and the last 10K, let's go as fast as I could. And so I got with the 3 hour and 25 minute pacer, which is a 7:49 pace, which is about 5 minutes per mile faster than I wanted to be for my marathon goal pace. And so I kept up with them for the first 10 miles, and I felt really, really good. And I said, okay, well, maybe I can go a little longer. So I kind of bucked my strategy a little bit there. I went actually 12 miles with the pacer, and you'll be able to see the video here where I came through at the 12.5 mile mark. Chrissy was there with some video, and I was on pace there. I was right at, I was still at 7 minutes 49 seconds per mile for the first 12 miles, so I felt really good about that. I did back off a little bit going those next few miles, and the pace started, my average pace started to come up, because that's what it does when you slow down a little bit. It's hard for me to watch people pass me, but that was my strategy, and I stuck to it as best I could, going along those middle miles, which are sometimes the hardest, because you start wanting to take in your calories, and you want to start making sure you get enough water, and you want to make sure you're not going too fast at this point, so that you've got that little bit of extra at the end to make it through to the finish line. And so from mile, I think 14 on to usually about mile 14 to 16, I usually come up with some kind of injury where I have to stop for a few minutes. I know in Houston, the first Houston, it was my Achilles. The second run in Houston was calf muscle that I had to stop and stretch out. I still ran 3:34 that day. Utah, I came up with my hamstrings and my quads were burning just because it's a total downhill race, and I didn't really train that hard for downhill. So there's still a lot of things that go into it, and usually around mile 14 to 16, I come up with some kind of pain that kind of slows me down, and that didn't happen this time. My Achilles did start on my left foot. My left Achilles did start hurting a little bit around that time, but it wasn't enough to make me stop. I kept on going at the pace I was going, and still felt pretty good. My legs felt pretty good. I got all the way up to mile 18. I'm still feeling really good. I took my first energy gel at mile 8. I took my second one at mile 16. Now I still had 2 in my pack that I could take the rest of the way. I got to mile 20, and I was still feeling really good. I was actually kind of surprised, kind of shocked at how good I felt at 20 miles. I was still right around 750, 751 pace. With the last 10K to go, I didn't start my music up like I wanted to at 20 miles just because I didn't want to slow down right at that point to kind of start it up. And I'm always afraid that my watch is going to die out on me and I'm not going to be able to listen to it all the way. So I went a couple more miles before I actually started up my last 10K music to keep me on pace. But the pacer dropped me at about mile 15. I could still see them in the distance, but I was still a good minute and a half behind them, which was right where I wanted to be. And then mile 23 was where I wanted to start. I had to make a decision at 23. Really, I needed to make it before then, but I didn't make it until 23. But I still had 2 gels left in my pack that I could have taken. I probably should have taken one at probably mile 20 or mile 21, maybe even 22, but I didn't. I felt like I had enough gas to make it the rest of the way, and I did have enough gas. Just not sure that my legs didn't still need that extra boost of energy from the energy gel pack. But so I didn't take one after mile 16. And so when I got to mile 23, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my music on, keep it at least an 8-minute pace the rest of the way, and I could just cruise into right around 3:30, maybe just a little less than 3:30. And then I got about a mile into that, and I didn't know how much battery I had left on my watch. And about a mile into that, after about 4 or 5 songs, it just shut off. My watch shut off, and by consequence, my music shut off, and I didn't have anything else the rest of the way. And I couldn't keep up with how much my pace was, how much more I needed, I knew how much further I needed to go because they have mile markers, but I didn't know what my pace was, and so I couldn't really keep up with that. When your legs are really tired like that, I really don't have a feel for what my pace is. I thought I was still doing pretty good, but I knew I was slowing down. And so my thinking was going into those last 2-3 miles was just stay strong, keep it strong, and finish strong, and just make sure you're under the 3:35. And so I did as best I could. I was passing some half marathoners that were walking, and I turned on the last footpath, which was going to take me over the last boardwalk, and there was these 3 ladies that were blocking the path, and they saw me as I turned up onto the sidewalk, and they just kind of, hey, and I heard one of them say, hey, let's move to the side and let this guy through. And so they did, and I kept on going. I thanked them as I moved on through, but by that point, my legs were, that was about mile 25. My legs were pretty much jelly at that point. And I was going as fast, thought I was going as fast as I could. And so I had no idea what my time was. I could hear at that point, you're about a mile away, but really you're not a mile away from the finish line because it takes some twists and turns along the way. So I could hear the finish line announcer, and I could hear the crowds, I could hear the music, but I was still about 1.2 miles away. And I did my best to go as fast as I could. But by the time I got to mile 25 and a half, I was struggling with my legs. So if I had taken that extra gel, maybe they would have been a little stronger. I don't know. If I'd have kept the music going, I pretty much would have been stronger because hearing the music helps me keep on pace, and usually energizes me a little bit. So maybe I'd done a little bit better if I had a little more battery life in my watch. But it's easy to look back and say, well, I should have done this, should have done that, and doesn't really matter at this point. No, I can't change it. So as I rounded the curve towards the finish line, I caught a glimpse of the first thing I wanted to do when I rounded that curve to see the finish line. I wanted to catch a glimpse of the timing clocks, and I saw it. I knew I was about 5 to 10 seconds behind the gun time. My chip time was going to be 5 to 10 seconds behind the gun time, and I was seeing what looked like it was counting up to the next number, 55, 56, 57. So I started running as fast as I could to try to beat that from switching over to the next highest number. And I got in, and I thought I was about 10 seconds under where I needed to be, 10 seconds over on my gun times as opposed to my chip time for where I needed to be. And so I started doing some subtracting and figured I was coming in somewhere around 331. I figured I was going to be somewhere around 331. And so after I got across the finish line and I got through got my medal, got some water, got some food. Then I moved on to where I could figure out what my time was, and it was 3 hours, 31 minutes, and 1 second. So for me, that likes round numbers, that 1 second, if I can just spend 1 second faster, hopefully that 1 second won't hurt me as far as qualifying for Boston goes. But just kind of so I did cross it 3 hours, 31 minutes, and 1 second. Just kind of an analysis afterwards, just kind of looking over kind of how I felt afterwards. I really felt better after this race than I have after any other marathon that I've done. Now my legs did hurt. Yep, everything from my waist down hurt pretty good, but I did feel pretty good after that race. Now we're probably 5 or 6 days after. My legs are pretty good. I feel like I can run right now, but I had promised myself I was going to take 2 weeks off, and I'm going to hold myself to that as much as I can. I did feel really good after the race, all things considered, and I didn't feel like I needed to pass out or throw up or anything like that. So kind of bummed I didn't break 3:30, but I did do a PR and shaved it off by a little over 2 minutes, so that's pretty good. All in all, I thought the race was very well put on, very well organized. The race was, the markings were really good. It had people at every spot where you needed to turn, directing you on how to turn and where to go. And I felt pretty good about that, not knowing some of the course. I knew some of it because I had seen some of it in a practice run I had done beforehand. But I thought it was a really good course, really well run, really well put together, and was excited about that. Maybe I'll go back next year and do the half. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of where it is. Finished at 3 hours and 31 minutes and 1 second, and now the waiting begins because I won't really know if I made Boston until probably September when registration opens. And I will definitely give you an update on that. So drop me a comment below and let me know what your goals are for exercising and things, whether you're hitting those, whether you're not. We're all in this together. We want to support each other. So drop me a comment below and kind of let me know where some things are going in your life. I'd love to hear those and be able to give you some encouragement along the way. So with that said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell for updates when we upload new videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes on the weekend, sometimes in between. You just kind of never know when we're going to drop one in there. And with that said, that's going to do it today for The Long Run with Joel and Chrissy. I'm Joel, flying solo today. Don't forget the long run. Give yourself a little grace.